Welcome to Bags of Money, a thrilling crime story set in the heart of Edinburgh. Follow Inspector Jenny Logan as she unravels a dangerous mystery that connects an escaped prisoner, a dead woman, and secrets from a murder 7 years ago. Each clue brings her closer to the truth, but also closer to the city's most powerful criminal. Chapter 1. Escape and Death. Jenny Logan was enjoying a warm afternoon of Scottish sunshine on the beach at Portobello, 5 kilometers from the center of Edinburgh, when her phone rang. Logan. "Grant here, madam." "Oh, it's my day off, Grant," said Logan. "I know, I'm sorry," said Grant. "But Ronnie Campbell, the murderer, has escaped from prison." "Okay," said Logan. "I'll meet you in my office in about 15 minutes. She pulled on jeans and a t-shirt over her swimsuit and hurried to her car. Jenny Logan was an inspector with the Edinburgh Police. During the 10-minute drive from Portobello to the London Road police station, she thought about Ronnie Campbell. She remembered that he had gone to prison for killing a man named Craig Sinclair about 7 years ago, just after she joined the police. But she could not recall many details. Sergeant Grant was waiting for her in the office. He was 59 but looked younger, with thick black hair and a large black mustache. He held some papers with police record, Ronnie Campbell written on the front. "Tell me what's happening," said Logan, putting her beach bag in a cupboard. "Campbell escaped from a prison van near Dundee this morning," said Grant. "They were moving him to Sawton Prison in the west of Edinburgh. He got away at a petrol station. Later, we learned he stole a dark blue Audi." "What have you done so far?" asked Logan. "We've told the newspapers, the radio, and TV. They have the car number and a description of Campbell," Grant explained. Logan was silent for a moment. "Is he dangerous, do you think?" she asked. "Possibly," said Grant, placing Campbell's record on her desk. Just then, the phone rang. Grant answered, listened, said "okay" twice, and put the phone down. He looked at Logan. "Someone has found a young woman's body in Holyrood Park. We're wanted there immediately." "Today was my day off," said Logan. "Not any longer," said Grant. A few minutes later, Logan drove into Holyrood Park with Grant beside her. The park is one of the loveliest places in Edinburgh. Inside is Arthur's Seat, a tall hill standing above the city, along with lakes and fields. Locals know and love the park, though tourists rarely visit. As Logan drove past the Palace of Holyrood House, the Queen's residence in Scotland, she remembered that a bloody murder had taken place there in the 16th century. She wondered what they would discover today. She parked on the grass near the police cars and looked up at Arthur's Seat. The sky was still blue and warm, but Logan felt cold at the thought of a young woman's death. A group of mostly men stood about 100 meters up the hillside. Logan and Grant walked up. People stepped back to let them through. Logan moved forward and looked down at the body of a woman in her late 20s. There was a deep white cut across her throat and blood everywhere. A dark-haired woman in blue trousers and a white shirt studied the body carefully. She was Helen Robertson, the police doctor. Logan had met her before. "Helen," Logan said softly. "Jenny," Robertson answered. "Hi, a bad case, I'm afraid." She turned back to the body. "As you can see, someone cut her throat with a knife. Her head is almost cut off, and there is a lot of blood." She pointed to the ground. "Time of death, probably between 2 and 3 this afternoon." Robertson moved around the body, touching it only when needed. Then she looked more closely. "Yes," she said. "Well?" asked Logan. See how the cut begins low on the right side of the neck and ends near the left ear? I'd say the killer stood behind her, held her head back with his right arm, and cut her throat with his left hand. I see, said Logan. How sure are you? Sure enough, Robertson answered seriously. And I'd say the killer is taller than this woman. She's quite tall herself, about 165 to 170 centimeters. Thanks, Helen, said Logan. There's one more thing, Robertson added. The killer will have blood all over his clothes. That's useful, said Logan. She turned to Grant. We need to find the knife if possible. Get people searching the park. Right, said Grant. It was only 5 o'clock, so there would be light for several more hours. The police could search until dark. Logan stepped away for a moment, letting the fresh air clear the chill of death. Then Grant returned with Robertson. I found this in her pocket, Robertson said, handing Logan a clear police bag with a dirty envelope inside. Logan held it carefully. The envelope was empty. On the back were the words, eggs, bread, milk, matches, a shopping list. On the front was written, Morag Mackenzie, but with no address. You haven't read Campbell's record yet, said Grant. But the name Morag Mackenzie is in it. She's not one of his favorite people. Logan gave the envelope back to Helen. Helen, please give this to the scientists. I want to know if there are fingerprints and anything about the handwriting. Logan turned to Grant. Well, it seems Ronnie Campbell may be dangerous. You'd better tell me what you know about him. Chapter 2. Meeting Jimmy Brown. We were lucky to catch Campbell for Craig Sinclair's murder, said Grant, as he and Logan walked down the hill toward her car. Did you work on that case? Asked Logan. Yes, but before you ask, I didn't speak to Morag Mackenzie at the time, and I don't know if the body up there was hers, said Grant, pointing back with his thumb. At first we had no idea who killed Sinclair. Then someone phoned the London Road station. They didn't give a name but told us to search Campbell's flat. And what did you find? Asked Logan. There was a gun in a metal box in his kitchen. It was the gun that killed Sinclair. Campbell's fingerprints were all over the box. What about the gun? No prints? Said Grant. He must have cleaned it. They were still questioning Campbell when Morag Mackenzie came to the station. I wasn't there, but she said she saw Campbell and Sinclair drinking and shouting at each other the night Sinclair died. They were in the Abbotsford Arms, the pub at the end of Rose Street. What did Campbell say? Asked Logan. He admitted the box was his, but said he had never seen the gun. He said he had never even been inside the Abbotsford Arms and didn't know Sinclair very well. So why would he kill him? But you were sure he was guilty, said Logan. Oh yes, said Grant. Campbell had been in trouble before. He'd been in prison twice, once for stealing cars and once for fighting in a pub. He broke someone's arm. That doesn't make him a murderer, said Logan. True, said Grant. But you wouldn't be surprised if he was. And Sinclair? Asked Logan. A small-time criminal, too. Never went to prison, but that was just luck. He got into fights, sold stolen CDs, things like that. Nice people, said Logan dryly. At 6 o'clock, back at the London Road station, Logan sent Grant to find the latest news about Campbell and the stolen Audi. At last, she had time to change out of her beach clothes. She put on the dark blue trouser suit she kept in her office. She always felt more professional in smart clothes. She looked in the mirror. Her short brown hair framed her dark brown eyes. She always thought her nose was too long. A journalist friend, Tam MacDonald, once said she was too pretty to be a police officer. That had made her angry. She was intelligent and good at her job, but being good-looking sometimes made things harder. People did not always take her seriously. She worked hard to prove them wrong. She poured herself a coffee and opened Campbell's record. His photo showed nothing unusual. He was 35 years old, 180 centimeters tall, slim but strong, with short brown hair and small brown eyes set close together. As Logan studied the photo, questions filled her mind. Why had Campbell escaped? Was the body in Holyrood Park Morag Mackenzie? Had she really seen Campbell in the Abbotsford Arms? Did Campbell kill her, or even Sinclair? Where was he now? He wouldn't need new clothes since prisoners in Scotland wore their own. But he would need money. Where would he get it? At that moment, Grant returned. "No news on Campbell or the Audi," he said. "But I'm sure that body on the hillside was Morag Mackenzie." "Why?" asked Logan. "Some officers downstairs knew her. They described her to me. She lived with a man called Jimmy Brown, and he's no good into robbery, car theft, all sorts of crime. We'll need him to confirm the body," said Logan. "And even if Campbell killed her, we must ask Brown some questions. We need to know where he was this afternoon. As we know, women are often killed by their partner. Do you have his address?" "Yes," said Grant. "Springwell Place, off Dalry Road." "Okay," said Logan. "Let's go." The flat Morag shared with Jimmy Brown was on the second floor of an old building near Dalry Road. Grant parked outside and followed Logan up the stairs. Their knock was answered by a tall young man with fair hair. He badly needed a bath and clean clothes. He wore a dirty red t-shirt, jeans that had once been white, and no shoes or socks. He looked down at Logan with an ugly smile, then glanced at Grant and back again. "Well," he said, "it's the pigs." Chapter 3. The Mysterious Main Man. People call the police many names: bobbies, coppers, cops, and worse. But all officers hate being called pigs. As soon as Logan heard the word, she felt Grant move beside her. She touched his arm. "No," she said softly. She looked at the man in front of her. "Jimmy Brown?" "Maybe," he answered. "Who wants to know?" "Jimmy. I'm Inspector Logan of the Edinburgh Police, and this is Sergeant Grant." She showed him her ID and put it away. "So?" said Jimmy, still looking down his nose at her. "We'd like to come in," said Grant, pushing his face close to Jimmy's. Jimmy stepped back, surprised. Grant and Logan quickly entered the flat, and Grant closed the door. "Problem?" asked Grant in a hard voice. He didn't look friendly. Jimmy gave a weak smile and leaned against the wall. Logan looked around. She had seen dirty flats before, but never one this bad. The furniture was old and burned with cigarettes. The walls were a dark color, maybe once brown. Coffee cups, cigarette packs, and empty pizza boxes were everywhere. That day's evening paper lay open on a chair beside a half-eaten pizza and an empty beer can. The whole place smelled of unwashed clothes and people. She turned to Jimmy. "Do you know where Morag is?" Jimmy moved away, shaking empty cigarette packs. "No." "What were you doing this afternoon?" "Nothing." "Come on, Jimmy. We need real answers," said Logan impatiently. Grant looked around and saw a closed door. He reached for it. "Don't go in there," Jimmy shouted, moving quickly. Grant opened it anyway. "Well, well," said Grant with a pleased voice. Logan stepped closer. Inside was a bed, but along the opposite wall were boxes of televisions, CD players, and videos stacked together. Grant opened some boxes to check. Jimmy sat on the floor in the living room, staring at the wall. "These are stolen, aren't they?" asked Logan. Jimmy nodded silently. "It's not your lucky day, Jimmy," Logan said. "You're in trouble. Now tell us where Morag is." "I really don't know," said Jimmy. "She went out around midday." "Was she working?" "No, not really. She never had a normal job." "So how did she get money?" asked Logan. "I don't know," Jimmy said quickly. "Some man. She called him the main man. He gave her money sometimes." "You expect us to believe that?" asked Grant. "Why would a man just give her money? It's true. I don't know what she did for him." "You don't know who this main man is?" asked Logan. "No," said Jimmy. "Any idea?" asked Grant, staring hard at him. "I think he's important," Jimmy said quickly. "But she never told me. She said some things are better not to know." "So you don't know what she did for him?" asked Logan. "No." "Was she going to see him today?" "Probably," Jimmy said. "She made a phone call before she went out. It sounded like she was arranging to meet him." Jimmy looked at them suspiciously. "Why are you asking all these questions about Morag? What's she done?" Logan stayed silent, thinking about this main man. How important was he? Grant took over. "What about you, Jimmy? Where were you all day?" "Here," said Jimmy. "I never went out." "Anyone see you? Any visitors?" "No." Jimmy stood up, looking braver now. "I've answered your questions. What's this really about? What has Morag done?" Grant sat down on the arm of the cleanest chair. "Jimmy," he said, "you'd better sit down. I've got bad news." Later, they drove Jimmy from the flat to the station. Grant and Logan sat in front, Jimmy in the back. He had cried when Grant told him about Morag. When he calmed down, they explained he must confirm the body. He would also face robbery officers about the stolen goods. Logan kept quiet about more questions she had for him later. As they drove, Logan thought of the people she had met that day. Ronnie Campbell, murderer. Jimmy Brown, robber. Morag Mackenzie dead at only 26 or 27. At the station, it was 7:30. Logan asked a young sergeant to take Jimmy to view the body. When they left, she turned to Grant. "He lied about his afternoon," she said. "Did he?" "Yes. The evening paper was in his flat. It comes out at 2, so he either bought it or someone brought it. I didn't ask him. He may speak more easily here." Grant smiled. "He's left-handed." "Yes, I saw," said Logan. "And tall and not a nice person." "No, but that doesn't make him a murderer." "True," said Grant. "But you wouldn't be surprised if he was." "Exactly," said Logan. "And what about this main man?" "An interesting phrase," said Grant. "Someone who thinks he's important." "Right," said Logan. She patted his shoulder. "After Jimmy sees the body, lock him up. Let the robbery unit talk to him. I also want all the stolen things collected. Then come find me." "Right," said Grant. Back in her office, Logan read Campbell's record and wrote notes in her black notebook. At 8:15, Grant returned. "It's confirmed. The body is Morag Mackenzie." "Yes, someone phoned me too," said Logan. "Any news on the envelope or knife?" "Scientists will call about the envelope. The search is finished. Oh, no knife." "What about St. Margaret's lock?" asked Grant. "Maybe the killer threw it there," said Logan. "Get divers in the morning." "Right, madam." "Where might Campbell go?" asked Logan. "No idea. He only had one visitor in prison this year, his lawyer. In this weather, he could sleep outdoors." "He'll need money," said Logan. He'll probably steal it, said Grant. Campbell was sent to prison for 15 years, said Logan. That's right. He still had a long time left. Yes, at least 8 more years, with no chance of early release now. There's something strange about this murder, Logan said. If we want to find out who killed Morag Mackenzie, we need to look again at Craig Sinclair's murder. Grant said nothing, but he knew Logan was usually right. Logan turned her notebook pages. Craig Sinclair had a sister, Jean Drummond, married, living at St. Stephen Street in the new town. Let's see if she's still there. Organize the divers, meet me in the car park in 10 minutes. What about Jimmy Brown? Asked Grant. Let the robbery unit deal with him tonight. We'll question him tomorrow. I want to focus on Sinclair's murder now. They drove through Edinburgh. The old town near the castle and Holyrood House was small. St. Stephen's Street was in the new town, not far from Prince's Street. Although built over 200 years ago, the area was still called new. At 8:30 on the warm June evening, Logan admired the busy streets and stone houses. She often thought Edinburgh was one of the most beautiful cities in the world. She had visited London once, but disliked it. Too big, noisy, and dirty. Edinburgh was just right. As they turned into St. Stephen Street, the car phone rang. Grant answered, listened, then said goodbye. They've found the Audi, he told Logan, in a car park near Haymarket Station. That's close to where Morag lived, said Logan. Yes, they're searching, but Campbell could be anywhere now. He won't return to the car. That would be stupid. True, said Logan. Okay, let's see what Sinclair's sister has to say. Chapter 4. Secrets about Craig. St. Stephen's Street was narrow, with tall buildings on both sides. Most were flats, though a few were pubs or small shops. Logan and Grant climbed the steps of one building and checked the names by the door. Drummond, first floor, Grant pointed. They walked up the stairs. Grant knocked, and a woman in her early 30s opened the door. Yes, she said. Mrs. Jean Drummond, asked Logan. Yes. I'm Inspector Logan, Edinburgh Police, said Logan. I'm sorry to come so late, but may I speak with you? Of course, said Jean Drummond. Come in. Jean had shoulder-length blonde hair, blue eyes, and a warm smile. She wore jeans and an oversized shirt that almost reached her knees. Sorry about the mess, she said, pointing to tables and chairs piled up and boxes of books on the floor. I'm finally painting the living room. I meant to do it 8 years ago when we moved in. She led them into the kitchen. Would you like some tea? Yes, thank you, said Logan. Logan and Grant sat on wooden chairs at the table while Jean prepared tea. The kitchen was clean and cheerful, with yellow walls and curtains. It felt bright and welcoming, the complete opposite of Jimmy Brown's flat. I'm afraid we must ask about your brother Craig and his death, said Logan. I know it's the past, but it may be important. Jean placed cups and a teapot on the table. She was no longer smiling, though her eyes stayed kind. Inspector, I don't worry about the past. I was very sad when Craig was killed, but it wasn't a surprise. He was always in trouble, even as a boy. At school, the police often came to our house to talk to him. I loved him, but he chose the wrong life. She handed them tea. Logan spoke gently. Mrs. Drummond? I don't know if you've heard, but Ronnie Campbell, the man jailed for your brother's murder, escaped today. Jean put down her cup. Logan and Grant could almost see her thoughts racing. Logan added quietly, And the woman who said she saw Campbell with Craig that night, she was murdered today. Jean's hand flew to her mouth, and she made a low, frightened sound. Logan touched her arm softly. Don't worry, Campbell won't be interested in you. Zhang's eyes were wide. But maybe he will, she said in a nervous voice. Campbell always said he didn't know Craig well, but I thought they were friends. I saw them together 5 or 6 times. I believe they worked together, stealing and such. I told the police that, and Campbell won't have forgotten. Logan and Grant exchanged looks. Logan said calmly, I don't think you're in danger, but we can't take risks. We can send a policewoman to stay with you until Campbell is caught. Jean thought for a moment. Yes, I'd like that. My husband is away on business, and I don't want to be alone. Logan nodded at Grant, who left to make the call. Logan turned back to Jean. You said Craig was often in trouble. Yes. He always had money, though he never had a job. I thought he was just a small criminal buying and selling stolen things. I believed he would grow out of it one day. But then, one evening, he visited me, drunk and talking about money. I realized then he had chosen crime for life. Logan stayed silent, letting her speak. June smiled faintly as if remembering. That night, Craig said something strange. He told me, I'm going to get bags of money. I thought he meant he'd be rich. I joked. That'll be nice. But he shook his head. No, I'm going to get bags money. He thinks he's Mr. Big. I asked who he meant, but he just repeated, bags money. He was too drunk to explain. Jean sat down again. I'd forgotten about that until now. I haven't spoken about Craig in years. I'm sorry if I'm talking too much. Don't be sorry, said Logan. You've been very helpful. After telling Jean that a policewoman would arrive in half an hour, Logan and Grant said goodbye. As they walked downstairs, Logan turned to Grant. Okay, what did you find so interesting in what she said? Well, said Grant, smiling, Craig was drunk. What if he didn't mean bags of money? What if he meant bags money? And who is Bags Logan? Grant gave her a wide grin. Chapter 5. Questions for Mr. Baxter. Robert Baxter is Bags, said Grant as he opened the car door. Robert Baxter? You mean the one who owns the big sports center on Corstorphine Road? Asked Logan. That's him. And of course, the same Robert Baxter the Serious Crimes Unit has been trying to catch for years. How come you know he's called Bags and I don't? Asked Logan with a small smile. When she first worked with Grant 3 years ago, she learned that he was an excellent policeman. He always found information others could not, and he never forgot details. I'd be surprised if you knew, said Grant. Only people who grew up in Edinburgh would know that. Logan was from Penicuik, a town 15 kilometers south of Edinburgh. Grant went on. Baxter grew up in a poor part of town. He was wild, but only got caught once. For what? Asked Logan, though she knew Grant wanted her to ask. For stealing an old lady's handbag. He ran past her, grabbed it, and ran straight into a policeman's arms. His friends called him Bags Baxter after that for a while anyway. Not now. No, now he's too rich and powerful. People are afraid of him. Yes, said Logan. They certainly are. The rest of the drive to the London Road station was quiet. Logan thought about Robert Baxter. The Serious Crimes Unit had been after him for years, but he was too clever. He planned and controlled much of the crime in Edinburgh and made a fortune from it. He also owned real businesses that made him even richer. Baxter was known as a hard man. He expected obedience from everyone who worked for him. Those who disobeyed found out how dangerous he was. People said he had killed more than once, but the police never proved it. Witnesses were too afraid to talk. When Logan and Grant arrived back at the station, it was almost 10 p.m. "We'll need to speak to Mr. Baxter tomorrow," said Logan. "Find out where he'll be at 9:30 in the morning and tell me before you go home." "Right, madam," said Grant. Logan went to her office. On her desk were 2 notes from the scientists. The first said there were 3 fingerprints on the envelope. 2 belonged to Morag Mackenzie. 1 did not. That unknown print could be important. There was no result yet about the handwriting. The second note said the scientists were examining the blue Audi and would report soon. Logan sat back and looked out the window. She thought about the 2 dead people, Craig Sinclair, killed 7 years ago, and Morag Mackenzie, killed only hours ago. Were the murders linked? Was Campbell guilty of both, or neither? Did he escape to kill Morag because she helped send him to prison? Or was there another reason? And what about Jimmy Brown? Was he only a robber? Or something more dangerous? And Robert Baxter, what part did he play in this story? Was he right-handed or left-handed? She would find out soon. The next morning at 9:30, Logan and Grant stood inside the Baxter Sports Center watching a tennis game. A tall, fair-haired man in his late 30s served the ball hard with his right hand. Logan recognized him from newspaper photos, Robert Baxter. When the game ended, Baxter shook hands with the other man. "Game, set, and match. 6-love, 6-2, he said cheerfully. Logan and Grant approached him. "Mr. Baxter, I'm Inspector Logan, and this is Sergeant Grant," Logan said, showing her ID. "We'd like to speak with you for a few minutes." "Of course, Inspector," said Baxter politely. But his gray eyes looked cold. "If you don't mind, I'll take a quick shower first. Then we can talk in my office." "Okay," said Logan. "There are some seats at the entrance." "I'll be quick," said Baxter. 10 minutes later, Baxter led them to his office. Logan noticed his Italian suit, which he guessed cost at least £1,500. His shoes looked just as expensive. On his finger was a heavy gold ring. Baxter clearly liked spending money on himself. His office was large and bright, with expensive furniture. "Coffee?" he asked, pointing to a machine. "No, thank you," said Logan. "We won't take much of your time." Baxter poured himself a cup, lit a cigarette with a gold lighter, and sat across from them. "What can I do for you, Inspector?" "Just 2 questions," said Logan. "A young woman was murdered yesterday in Holyrood Park." "Yes, I read about it," said Baxter smoothly. "A terrible thing. Her name was Morag Mackenzie. Have you ever met or spoken to her?" "Morag Mackenzie?" Baxter repeated slowly. "No, I don't think so. Perhaps she came here once, but I don't know her. Too many people use this place." "All right," said Logan. "The other question is about the past. Did you know a man named Craig Sinclair? Did he work for you, or was he a friend?" Baxter thought carefully, stroking his chin. "Craig Sinclair? No, I don't think so. The name means nothing. But I could check if he worked here." He stopped mid-sentence. "That's all," said Logan, standing. "Sorry I couldn't help," said Baxter, also rising. "I hope you find the person you're looking for." "So do I," said Logan. She looked around the office. "You've done well for yourself, Mr. Baxter, from poor beginnings to a successful businessman." "I work hard," said Baxter with a slight smile. "If I do something, I do it well. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have an important call." As Logan and Grant left, they heard him on the phone. "What do you mean he's not there?" "Find out where he is. Tell him the main man wants to speak to him." Outside in the car park, Logan spotted a dark green Mercedes with the number plate RB1. "So," she said, "do you think Baxter is Morag's main man?" "That's the question," said Grant. "Even if he is, it doesn't prove he killed her. And he's right-handed." Logan started the car. "What did you think of him?" "I think his clothes cost more than I earn in a month," said Grant. "I didn't know you cared about fashion," Logan teased, and they both laughed. Grant always wore the same blue jacket and gray trousers. Even new ones looked old on him. But there was something odd. Logan said, "What?" He wasn't surprised by our questions. If someone asked you about two people you'd never heard of, wouldn't you want to know why? "Yes," said Grant. "That is strange. I hadn't thought of that." As Logan drove out of the car park, the phone rang. Grant answered. "Hold on," he said, then turned to Logan. "It's your journalist friend, Tam MacDonald. He says he knows where Ronnie Campbell is." Chapter 6. Catching Campbell. Logan stopped the car at the side of the road. She and Grant quickly switched seats so he could drive. As she got back in, she picked up the phone. "Tam, are you doing my job again?" she asked. Tom laughed. "Jenny, my dear, I could never do it as well as you." Logan smiled. "Seriously," said Tom, "I hear you're leading the search for Ronnie Campbell. Well, I'm looking at him right now." "Where?" asked Logan quickly. "He's sitting on the ground outside Jenner's department store on Prince's Street, holding out his hat for money," Tom replied. "I'm across the road, pretending to be a tourist." "Jenner's, Prince's Street. Quick," Logan said to Grant. He switched on the blue light, put it on the roof, and drove into traffic. "You could never look like a tourist, Tam," Logan told him over the phone. Tom laughed. "Like many Scots I've read here often enough." "You're sure it's Campbell?" she asked. "I am now. At first I thought he was just another beggar, but then I recognized him. Clever move, actually." "What do you mean?" asked Tom. "His photo is in all the papers and on TV. Everyone is looking for him, but nobody looks at beggars. It's the perfect hiding place. And it explains how he's getting money," Logan said. "Very clever," agreed Tom. "You're certain it's him?" Logan pressed. "Oh, yes. I covered the Sinclair case. I know what Campbell looks like." "Keep your eye on him," said Logan. "Don't worry. But listen, he came here from Holyrood Park." "Holyrood Park?" Logan repeated. "What was he doing there?" "No idea. I went to see where Morag Mackenzie was murdered. As I was leaving, I saw Campbell. I left my car in the park and followed him here. Good work. We'll be there in a few minutes. Wait for us." "Of course. But after this, I'll expect that dinner invitation," Tom said with a grin in his voice. Logan laughed. "See you soon." She hung up. It was unusual for a police officer and a journalist to be close friends, but Logan and Tom were. The road was clear. Within minutes, they reached the west end of Prince's Street. Grant turned off the light and drove slowly with the traffic. Jenner's was at the far end on the left. Logan spotted a man sitting outside with a hat on the ground. "I'll get out here," she said, jumping from the car. Grant drove past and stopped further ahead, then walked back quickly. Together, Logan and Grant approached Ronnie Campbell. At the same time, Campbell looked up, saw they were police, and moved with shocking speed. He was on his feet, and running across the road in seconds. Cars braked hard, metal screeched, and glass broke as vehicles crashed into each other. "Police, stop!" shouted Grant, chasing after him. Logan followed, pulling out her phone to call for help. Campbell reached the other side and turned right, running fast along the road, searching for a way into Princess Street Gardens. Suddenly, a short, red-haired man jumped from the crowd and grabbed Campbell's legs. It was Tom MacDonald. Both men crashed to the ground, Campbell fighting to break free. Seconds later, Grant arrived. He forced one of Campbell's arms behind his back and pushed it up between his shoulders. Campbell stopped struggling and lay still. Logan arrived and pulled out her police ID. "Ronnie Campbell," she said. "You are wanted for escaping from a prison van near Dundee yesterday morning, for stealing a car, and for answering many other questions. Get up, we're going to the London Road station." She turned to Tom, who was brushing off his jeans, green t-shirt, and brown jacket. "Well done, Tom," said Logan. "I didn't know you were good at rugby." "Actually, I played for my school's first team," Tom said with a wide smile. Chapter 7. A Strong Reason to Kill. Back at the London Road police station, Logan and Grant sat across from Campbell in a small room with no windows. A clock on the wall showed 11:30. On the table was a cassette recorder, taping their talk. Campbell sat forward, his arms on the table, head in his hands. He wore a white t-shirt, jeans, and trainers. His blue jacket hung on the back of the chair. A paper cup of water sat in front of him. Since they brought him in, he had said nothing. Logan waited until he lifted his head. "Why did you escape, Ronnie?" she asked. He stared straight at her. "Because I wanted to get out." "Don't play games," said Grant sharply. "You know what the inspector means." Campbell looked at Grant but stayed silent. "Ronnie," Logan said again, "you know almost no one escapes. And if they do, they're usually caught. The only way to stay free is to have friends outside with money who can get you out of the country. But you don't have friends like that, do you?" Campbell said nothing. The room was quiet. After a while, Logan spoke again. "Do you remember the girl who said she saw you and Sinclair in the Abbotsford Arms?" Campbell's eyes grew hard, but he kept silent. "Do you remember her name?" Logan pressed. Campbell said nothing. "Come on, Ronnie," said Grant. "Stop the games. You remember Morag Mackenzie? You won't forget her name. Well, she was killed yesterday, soon after you escaped, probably about the time you reached Edinburgh. Someone cut her throat." Campbell's face changed. He looked both surprised and afraid. Grant went on. "The inspector asked why you escaped. My answer: you spent 7 years in prison because of Morag Mackenzie. She gave the police the evidence that sent you away. I think you escaped so you could find her and kill her." "Stop it!" Campbell shouted, jumping to his feet. "I didn't kill Morag Mackenzie, and I didn't kill Craig Sinclair. I didn't even know Morag was dead." "But you knew where she lived, didn't you?" asked Logan. She wasn't sure, but it was possible. The stolen Audi had been found near her flat. "Yes," Campbell admitted. "I know someone who knows her. So what happened when you went there?" asked Logan. She wasn't sure he had, but it seemed likely. "I didn't see her," Campbell said. "You were seen," said Grant, playing along to make Campbell think they knew more. "The car was near her flat, and people saw you there." "I went," Campbell admitted. "But she wasn't home. Nobody was there." Logan thought about Jimmy Brown. She remembered the evening paper in his flat. It meant he must have gone out at some point. "So what did you do then?" she asked. I just walked the streets for a while. Weren't you afraid someone would recognize you from the papers or TV? Asked Logan. Campbell shook his head. Nobody looks at people who live on the street. Logan nodded slowly, then glanced at Grant. Where did you sleep last night? Asked Grant. In Holyrood Park. Had you been there before? No, I got there about 10 or 11. It was dark already. I slept halfway up Arthur's Seat. Logan noticed Campbell was talking more freely now. Maybe he would give them the truth. So why did you want to see Morag Mackenzie? She asked quietly. Campbell stayed silent for a few moments, then spoke. You wouldn't understand. Try me, said Logan. I was going mad in prison, Campbell began. It's worse than you can imagine. 7 years is a long time. And I was there for something I didn't do. At first, I thought the police would find new evidence about Sinclair's murder, but my lawyer told me there was no chance. I lost all hope, no hope of getting out, no hope anyone would believe me. Then came a chance to escape. I took it. I didn't think, I just ran. He paused and drank some water. And Morag? Asked Logan softly. She lied, said Campbell. I wanted to know why. Why did she say she saw me with Sinclair that night? I didn't even know her. Maybe someone paid her, but who and why? I wanted answers. What were your plans for today? Asked Logan. I was going to get more money begging outside Jenner's. Then I'd see if Morag was home in the afternoon. Logan and Grant left Campbell with another officer and went upstairs for coffee. So what do you think? Logan asked. Well, he had no knife and no bloody clothes, said Grant. But he does have a very strong reason to kill her. 7 years in prison, Logan said quietly. She picked up a message from her desk. The search of Morag and Jimmy's flat, she read. Scientists took away some knives for testing. No clothes with blood. Another note said Campbell's fingerprints were on the inside of the blue Audi, but nothing else. The prints on the envelope were not his or Jimmy Brown's. Logan checked her watch. I think we should talk to Jimmy Brown now, she said. I want to know how that newspaper got into his flat, and if he really knows who Morag's main man was. Chapter 8. The Mystery Car. I've kept you waiting, Jimmy, said Logan sweetly as she and Grant entered the room where Brown sat. It was just after 1 o'clock. We've been busy, she added. Brown glared at her. Having a good talk with the robbery unit? Asked Grant, sitting down opposite him. I've been answering questions all night, Brown said angrily. Why don't you leave me alone? I know I'm in trouble for the stolen stuff, but I didn't kill Morag. Just leave me out of it. Logan sat down across from him and looked straight at him. Jimmy, I only want to find who killed Morag. Where were you yesterday at noon? I told you I was home. That's what you told us, Logan said, holding his eyes. But it wasn't true, was it? Jimmy met her gaze for a moment, then looked away, biting his lip. I followed Morag, he admitted quietly. Nobody spoke. I didn't kill her, he added quickly. Really, I didn't. Why didn't you tell us before? Asked Logan. Because I know how the police work. I've been in trouble before. You think I'm guilty no matter what I say. So why should I tell you anything? Now you'll think I killed Morag just because I lied. He was growing angry again. Jimmy, said Logan calmly, you're a criminal and I don't like you. But if you didn't kill Morag, you don't need to be afraid of me. Jimmy gave her a strange look. Police officers didn't usually talk to people like him that way. So why did you follow her? Asked Logan. I wanted to find out who the main man was. Why now? Why not before? I'd only known Morag 6 months. We moved in together a couple of months ago. I didn't want to push into her business too soon, but I decided it was time. And did you find out? Asked Grant. No, Brown admitted. Let's go back, said Logan. When we spoke at your flat, you said Morag made a phone call before she left. That's right, said Brown. You thought she was arranging to meet her main man. Yes. Did she usually call him or did he call her? Brown looked at Logan strangely. Yesterday was different. Usually he called her. I can't remember her ever calling him before. So why did she call him yesterday? Asked Logan. I don't know, Brown said, thinking hard. We were watching the midday news. Suddenly she jumped up and called him. I thought she had just remembered something. What time was this? About noon. And when did she go out? Soon after. Grant took over. Where did she go? She walked down Dalry Road toward Haymarket. Then a car stopped and she got in. That was it. Logan leaned back, thinking. Campbell's escape had been on the midday news. Morag must have seen it and phoned her main man. What kind of car? Asked Grant. I don't know. Big, dark-colored blue or green? Logan and Grant exchanged a look. Blue or green? Logan repeated. I can't remember, Brown said. Did you see the number plate? Asked Logan. Oh, come on, Inspector. It was just a car. What about the driver? Asked Grant. I couldn't see. It was about 50 meters away. Think again, Jimmy, said Logan. Anything else? No. Which way did they drive? Toward Haymarket. And you? I went home, said Brown. But first you bought a newspaper, said Logan. Brown's head shot up. How do you know that? I'm a detective, said Logan with a small smile. Grant pressed on. What do you think Morag did for the main man? She went to parties. She looked after his people talking, making them feel welcome. And slept with them? Asked Grant. Yes, Brown said quietly. That's why we didn't talk about it much. Did Morag ever mention Robert Baxter? Asked Logan. Brown's eyes widened in shock. Robert Baxter. Is he the main man? You know him? Asked Logan. Everyone knows Baxter, said Brown. I don't know him personally and I don't want to. But I know who he is. Could he be the main man? Logan asked. Brown shrugged. It's possible, but Morag never said his name. Did she talk about her past? Asked Logan. Not really. Did she ever mention Craig Sinclair? Brown's face hardened. That little rat? No, she never talked about him, but I remember him. He sold me boxes of CDs once. Next day the police came and found them. He swore he didn't tell them, but I got in big trouble. I never trusted him again. Of course, he was murdered, Logan said quietly. Brown suddenly realized he might have said too much. Hey, come on. I knew he was killed. I didn't like him, but that doesn't mean I killed him. Later, Logan and Grant sat in her office with coffee. They had gone through Brown's story again, but he didn't change it. Do we believe him? Asked Grant. I don't know, said Logan. Strange that he knew Sinclair too. We'll need to check his alibi for that time. And the car, said Grant. Yes, the Audi Campbell stole was dark blue. Baxter's car is dark green, said Logan. Logan turned to the window. Across the road, children played while their mothers sat in the sunshine. She remembered that at this time yesterday, she had been at the beach. A lot had changed since then. She looked at her watch. It was already 3:30. Yes, she said. We should speak to Baxter again. Invite him here tonight if possible. Tomorrow at the latest." She pulled a box of papers on Sinclair's murder toward her. "I want another look at this before I meet Baxter." As Grant left, Logan picked up the first page and began to read. Chapter 9. Back to the first murder. Craig Sinclair's body was found early in the morning behind a factory on Beaver Hall Road in the Broughton area of Edinburgh. A factory worker had gone outside for a cigarette and discovered it. Someone had shot Sinclair, then moved his body there and left it. Logan thought it would help to see the place herself. She wasn't sure if she had ever been on Beaver Hall Road, but 15 minutes later she was there. The road was small, off Broughton Road. On the right stood old flats and a car park. On the left were large buildings, factories, and offices. At the far end was an empty lot where Powder Hall Stadium had once stood. Logan parked by the last block of flats and walked up the street. It was empty. The fish and chip shop on the corner was closed. No one was around. She returned to her car, opened the door, and pulled out the case file. She studied the photos of Sinclair's body, then looked around the street, imagining where it had been found. Had the killer known the factories worked through the night? Maybe they thought the body wouldn't be discovered until morning. Just then, she heard a sound behind her. An old man walked across the empty lot. His jacket and gray trousers looked as if he had slept in them, and he smelled strongly of whiskey. "All right, hen?" he asked. Some Scots called women hen when they didn't know their name. Logan didn't like it much, but it was better than love. "All right," she answered carefully. The man looked at her closely, then stood straighter. "You'll be the police then," he said. "That's right," said Logan. "And you are?" "Angus MacLeod, at your service," said the old man, tapping his head with his finger. "You can call me Gus." Logan smiled. He had clearly drunk too much, but he didn't seem dangerous. "Where do you live, Gus?" she asked kindly. "Here and there under the stars. I'm a free man in a free world," he said, spreading his arms wide. Logan laughed softly. "Do you come here often?" "Oh, yes," Gus said slowly. "I've been coming here a long time, since before they knocked the stadium down." He glanced back at the empty lot. Then he looked at her again. "Since before you joined the police, I'd say. And since before they found the body over there." He pointed between two factories. "But I didn't come back for a while. That was a bad business." "You were here then?" asked Logan. "Oh, yes," Gus nodded. "But I stayed away for a long time after. A bad business." He looked sad at the memory and pulled a half bottle of whiskey from his pocket. He took a drink. "I mean, were you actually here on the night of the murder?" Logan asked. "Oh, yes," Gus repeated. "Did the police speak to you?" No, I went away. It wasn't my business." "But did you see anything that night?" Logan pressed. "Oh, yes," Gus said more clearly. "I saw him." "You saw the body?" Logan asked, hardly believing her luck. "I saw the body," Gus said. "And I saw him too." "Who?" Logan asked carefully. "The man who brought the body." Logan's heart beat faster. "You mean you saw the man who left the body here?" Gus looked at her as if she was slow. Logan knew she had a problem. She should take him to the station. She should be angry he hadn't told police before. But people like Gus, homeless, heavy drinkers, were difficult. He might talk, or he might not. Even if he did, who would believe him? A lawyer could easily make him sound mad. She decided to speak to him here. "Tell me about him," she said. "Well," Gus said, taking another drink, "I'd be happy to tell you." Then he only smiled at her. Logan slipped a £10 note from her pocket and gave it to him. "That's very kind," Gus said. "Well, it was the middle of the night. A car stopped about here. He pointed to a spot on the road. A big man got out, opened the back door, took something out, and carried it over there." "What was the man like? Big, tall? What was he wearing?" "A suit, I think. It was dark. The street lights were on, but still dark." "What kind of car?" "Big," Gus said with a laugh. "4 wheels, 4 doors." Logan gave him a hard look, and he stopped laughing. "What color?" "I don't know. It looked dark." "Anything else?" "Did you see the number plate?" Gus laughed again at the idea, but then stopped and thought hard. He took another drink. Then he looked straight at Logan. "I don't remember the number, but I think it was unusual. Something like JB007 or Gus 1 or something like that." "You're sure?" asked Logan. "Absolutely," Gus said firmly, though his voice grew unclear again. Then he looked at her as if to say his time was up. "Well, it's been nice talking, but I've got important things to do," he said. He turned and walked away, singing quietly to himself in a more or less straight line. Logan stood by her car and watched him. He drank too much, yes, but he believed what he said. And strangely, she thought she believed him too. It was interesting information. She needed time to think. Chapter 10. Closing in on the killer. Logan returned to the London Road police station at 5 o'clock and found a message on her desk. The fingerprint from the envelope in Morag's pocket did not match anything in police records. That was not what Logan had expected at all. Just then, Grant appeared at the door. "Good news," he said. "The divers found a knife in St. Margaret's Loch. It was at the bottom, inside a plastic bag filled with stones. The scientists have it now." "That's great," said Logan. "We'll have to wait and see if it's the knife that killed Morag." "Let me know as soon as possible." "And Baxter's in Glasgow," added Grant. "He'll be back in Edinburgh first thing in the morning. He'll be here at 9:30. "Thanks, Grant," said Logan. "One more thing. I'd like to see Robert Baxter's criminal record." "He hasn't got one, madam." "But you told me he was caught with a handbag," said Logan, surprised. "Yes, but he was only 15 or 16. The officer warned him but didn't charge him. That's why he has no record." "That explains why we don't have his fingerprints," said Logan. "Now, I want you to do one more thing before going home." She explained the task, then picked up her bag and went back to her flat. Logan lived in Leith, by the sea in the north of Edinburgh. It used to be busy with ships, but now many old buildings had been turned into flats for young people. Logan lay on her sofa, listening to Capercaillie, her favorite Scottish band. She thought about all the facts she had gathered. They were like pieces of a jigsaw puzzle. You could only put them together in the right way to make the picture. If you tried the wrong way, some pieces didn't fit. She lay for hours, trying to find the right picture. By midnight, most of the puzzle was clear, though a few pieces were still missing. She hoped her talk with Robert Baxter in the morning would fill those gaps. The next morning, Logan sat with her coffee, reading a message Grant had left after visiting Brown's flat. A knock came and Grant entered. "Morning, Grant." "Thanks for this," she said, waving the paper before slipping it into her pocket. "I've got news about the knife," he said, sounding pleased. "We're in luck." "Go on," said Logan. "It's the knife that killed Morag. Her blood is on it." "Good start," said Logan. The knife was in a plastic bag with stones. The handle is wooden. The killer probably worried it would float back up. But here's the important part. The bag kept most of the water out, and the scientists found fingerprints on the knife. Excellent, said Logan, hitting her desk with her hand. And one of those prints matches the fingerprint on the envelope. Logan smiled. Good. Is Baxter here yet? Yes. I put him in the room you asked for and gave him a coffee, but I don't understand. The murderer knew Morag. We know the murderer was left-handed. Campbell and Brown both knew her, and both are left-handed. Baxter may be the main man, but he says he never met her, and he's right-handed. We saw him play tennis. Logan just smiled. You don't have a packet of cigarettes, do you? Grant gave her a surprised look. Logan didn't smoke. Sure, he said, handing her a pack and some matches. Thanks, I'll give them back later. She was still smiling. Okay, let's see Baxter. Logan opened the door to the room where Robert Baxter waited. Normally, police interview rooms were small, with only a table and a few hard chairs. But Logan had chosen a bigger, more comfortable room with armchairs, a coffee machine, and pictures on the wall. She wanted Baxter to feel free to move, especially his arms. Baxter sat reading a magazine. He put it down as Logan and Grant entered. Good morning, Mr. Baxter, said Logan. Thanks for coming. There are just a couple of things we need to clear up. That's fine, said Baxter, watching her closely. But I already answered your questions before. I'll help today, but then I'd prefer to be left alone. Of course, said Logan. She pulled out the cigarettes. Cigarette? She tossed the pack lazily toward him. It spun through the air and landed near the left arm of his chair. Baxter's left hand shot out and caught it. He pulled out a cigarette, put it in his mouth, and threw the pack back with his left hand. Thanks, he said. Logan tossed him the matches. They, too, fell on the left side. Baxter caught them with his left hand, lit the cigarette, and flicked the matches back again with his left. Logan looked at Grant. Grant smiled. Baxter noticed. What's going on? He asked, looking from one to the other. You're good at sport, aren't you? Said Logan. So what? Baxter asked, beginning to sense trouble. What do you play besides tennis? Football, squash, rugby, cricket. Why? Like many good sportsmen, Logan said calmly. You use both hands well. You're not completely right-handed. You're very good with your left. So, Baxter demanded angrily. So the killer of Morag Mackenzie was left-handed, Logan said evenly. You're mad, said Baxter. Completely mad. I told you I never knew her. Logan pulled a paper from her pocket. Do you have a mobile phone? Of course. Is this your number? She asked, reading it aloud. Yes, but anyone could find that out, Baxter said, looking nervous. True, it was easy. Grant checked Morag's phone records last night. She called your number around midday on the day she was killed. She could have got my number anywhere, Baxter said quickly, his eyes darting around the room. Logan continued. We found an envelope in Morag's pocket with her name on it. We'll be comparing the handwriting with yours. And there's a fingerprint on it, too. Baxter's face turned red. Maybe I did know her, but that doesn't mean I killed her. We'll know soon, Logan said firmly. We've also found the knife that killed Morag. It has fingerprints, too. You don't know they're mine, said Baxter. No, not yet, Logan replied. But I think we will. You haven't told the truth about Morag. You knew her, and you spoke to her just before she died. We already have enough to take your fingerprints. Then we'll compare them with those on the envelope and the knife. Baxter's head dropped into his hands. Logan turned to Grant. Take his prints. Then organize a search of the sports center, Corstorphine Road, and his home. Look for clothes with blood on them. We may not find them, but we might get lucky. Chapter 11. The Final Piece. Grant returned with fingerprint ink and paper. He took Baxter's prints and left to give them to the scientists. When he came back, Logan began again. "Okay," she said. "Let's go right back to the start. The murder of Craig Sinclair." Baxter's eyes looked empty. He shook his head slowly as if he couldn't believe what was happening. "Yes," Logan continued. "I've been looking into that case too, and I was lucky. I found someone who saw you leaving Sinclair's body in Beaver Hall Road. He described you, your car, and even your number plate. With such an easy number, it's hard to forget." She didn't tell Baxter that Gus MacLeod hadn't really remembered the number, or that no one would believe him anyway. It was enough that Baxter believed she had proof. Logan fell silent. If Baxter thought she knew everything, he might fill in the rest. She and Grant waited. Baxter opened his mouth, stopped, then tried again. At last, he spoke. "Sinclair tried to steal money from me. He actually did steal it, and then he bragged about it. Said, 'I've got Baggs' money. Baggs is finished. I'm the boss now.' I couldn't let that happen. I took back my money and made sure nobody else would try to cross me. Everyone knew I was still the main man." "And you made us think Campbell killed Sinclair," said Grant. "Why not?" Baxter shrugged. "I didn't like Campbell. He and Sinclair worked together sometimes. I thought they might have stolen my money together. It was clever to make them both disappear. And if Campbell went to prison for Sinclair's murder, I was safe." "So you put the gun in his flat?" asked Logan. "Yes. I found a box under his sink and put the gun inside. It was his box, so it had his fingerprints on it." "How did you get into his flat?" "Easy," said Baxter. "I had plenty of practice getting into houses without breaking windows." Logan nodded slowly, then asked, "And Morag? She did jobs for me sometimes." "She agreed to tell the police she saw Campbell with Sinclair that night. I paid her well. Later I gave her more work, just to keep her quiet. Everything was fine until Campbell escaped." Baxter stared at the table, then looked up. "Morag called me after she saw the news. She was scared Campbell would come to her. She wanted to meet me. She wanted more money. A stupid woman. She thought she could use the escape to ask for more. Well, she's quiet now." Baxter leaned back in his chair, his face pale, his eyes wide, realizing his world had just collapsed. He said no more. At 5 o'clock, Logan stood in her office, looking out the window. She was about to go home when someone knocked. Tom MacDonald came in, closing the door behind him. "I hear it's all over," he said, walking to her side. "Yes," Logan said. "Robert Baxter killed Morag Mackenzie, and 7 years ago he killed Craig Sinclair. I met Sergeant Grant on the way in," said Tom. He smiled. "The usual excellent work by Jenny Logan." "Thanks," she said, but her voice was serious. "I'm sure Ronnie Campbell wishes the police had done excellent work 7 years ago." "What will happen to him?" asked Tom. "First, we'll reopen the Sinclair case. That's easy now," Baxter confessed. "Then Campbell will go free. I doubt we'll punish him much for escaping or stealing a car. He's already spent 7 years in prison for something he didn't do." "Will he get money for those years?" "Quite a lot, I should think," said Logan. "I'd rather have 7 years free than a lot of money," said Tom. "I think Ronnie Campbell would agree," Logan replied softly. She turned and looked into Tom's eyes. They were good friends, so she stepped closer and kissed him gently on the lips. His arms went around her, holding her close. After a minute, she pulled back slightly. "What about that dinner invitation?" he asked with a smile. "I hadn't forgotten," she said, her hands still on his arms. "I'm tired. Let's go to my place first and decide where to eat later. If you enjoy suspense, mystery, and stories full of twists, stay with us through every chapter of Bags of Money. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss the next part of the story."